Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bismillah, Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala. Hello, my name is Hari Wibowo. I will read for you about 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea by Jules Verne. A Shifting Reef. The year 1866 was signaled by a remarkable incident, a mysterious and puzzling phenomenon with doubtless no one has yet forgotten. No to mention rumors which agitated the maritime population and excited the public mind. Even in the interior of continents, seafaring men were particularly excited. Merchants, common sailors, captain of vessels, skippers, both of Europe and America, naval officers of all countries, and the governments of several states of the two continents were deeply interested in the matter. For some time past, vessel had been met by an enormous thing, a long object, spindle shaped, spindle shaped, occasionally phosphorescent, and infinitely large, large and more rapid in its movement than a whale. The facts relating of this apparition entered in various log books agreed in most respects as to the shape of the object or creature in question. The entering rapidity of its movement, its surprising power of locomotion, and peculiar the peculiar life with which it seemed endowed. If it was a whale, it surpassed in size of in size all those hitherto classified in science. Taking into consideration the mean of observations made a drift's time, rejecting the timid estimate of those who assigned to this object a length of 200 feet, equally with the the exaggerated opinions which set it down as a mile in width and 3 in length. We make fairly conclude that this mysterious being surpassed greatly all dimension admitted by the learned ones of the day. If it excited at all, and that it did excite was an undeniable, undeniable fact, and with that tendency was disposes the human mind of favor of the marvelous, we can understand the excitement produced in the entire world by this supernatural apparition, as to placing it in the list of fables. The idea, the idea, the idea was out of the question. On the 20th of July 1866, the steamer Governor Higginson of the Calcutta and Burnett Steam Navigation Company had met this moving mass 5 miles off the east coast of Australia. Captain Baker told of first that he was in the presence of an unknown sandbank. He even prepared to determine its exact position when two columns of water, two columns of water projected by the mysterious object shot with a hissing noise 150 feet off into the air. Now, unless the sandbank had been submitted to the intermittent eruption of geysers, the Governor Higginson had to do neither more nor less than with aquatic mammal, unknown till then, withdraw up from its blowholes, withdraw up from its blowholes columns of water mixed with air and vapor. Similar facts were observed on the similar facts were observed on the 23rd of July in the same year. In the Pacific Ocean, when the Columbus of the West India and Pacific Steam Navigation Company. But this extraordinary creature could transport itself from one place to another with surprising velocity, as in an interval of 3 days. The Governor Higginson and Columbus had observed it at two different points of the chart, separated of a distance of more than 700 nautical leagues. 15 days later, 2,000 miles further off, the Helvetia of the Compact National and the Shannon of the Royal Mail Steamship Company sailing to windward in that portion of the Atlantic, lying between the United States and Europe, respectively, respect, respectively signaled the monster of East order in um, respectively signaled the monster to East order in 44 degrees 15 and lat and 16 degree 35 W long in this simulate news observation. They thought themselves justified in estimating the minimum length of the mammal of more than 350 feet, as the Shannon and Helvetia were of smaller dimension than it, though they measured 300 feet overall. Now, the leg, the legs whales, those whales frequent those parts of the sea around the Aleutian Ulamak and Amculich, 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 Amculich Island have never exceeded the length of 60 yards if they attain that. In every place of great resort, in every place of great resort, the monster was the fashion. They sang off in the dead caves, caves, radiculate in the radiculate it in the papers and represented it on the stage. All kinds of stories were circulated regarding it. There appeared in the papers caricatures of every gigantic, every gigantic and imaginary creature of the whale, of the wit, of the wet whale, the, the terrible Moby Dick of sub-Arctic region, to the immense kraken, whose tentacle called uh, entangled a ship of 500 tons and hurry it into the abyss of the ocean. The legend of ancient time were often revived. Then burst forth the unending argument, argument between the believers and the unbelievers in the societies of the West and the scientific journals. The question of the monster, inflamed of mind, editor of scientific journal, whirling about believers in the supernatural, spilled seas of ink during this memorable campaign, some even drawing blood. For from the sea serpent they come to direct personalities during the first month of the year 1867. The question seemed buried, never to revive, when new facts were brought before the public. It was then no longer a scientific problem to be solved, but a real danger seriously to the avoided. The question took quite another shape. The monster became a small island, a rock, a reef, but a reef of indefinite and shifting proportions. On the 5th of March 1867, the Moravian of the Montier Ocean Company, finding herself during the night in 27 degrees, uh, 13 lat and 72 degrees, uh, 15 long, stuck on her starboard quarter of a rock, marked in no chart for that part of the sea. Under this combined effort of the wind and its 400 horsepower, it was going at the rate of 13 knots. Had it not been for the superior strength of the hull of the Moravian, she would have been broken by the shock and gone down with the 237 passenger she was bringing home from Canada. The accident happened about 5 o'clock in the morning as the day was breaking. The officer of the watchdeck hurried to the after part of the vessel. They examined the sea with the most careful attention. They saw nothing but a strong eddy about 3 cables length distant, as if the surface had been violently against it. The bearings of the place were taken exactly, and the Moravian continued its route without uh, apparent damage. Had it struck on a submerged rock or on an enormous wave, they could not tell, but on examination of the ship's bottom when undergoing repair, it was found that part of her keel was broken. This fact so far, this fact so grave in itself might perhaps have been forgotten in have been forgotten like many others if 3 weeks after it had not been reenacted under similar circumstances, but then but thanks to the nationality of the victim of the shock. Thanks to the reputation of the company to which the vessel belonged, the circumstance become extensively circulated. The 30th of April 1867, the sea being beautiful, the breeze favorable, the Scotia of the Cunard Company's line found himself in 15 degrees 20 I'm sorry 12 long and 45 degrees 13 37 lat. She was going at the speed of 13 knots and a half. At 17 minutes past 4 in the afternoon, whilst the passengers were assembled at lunch in the kids' saloon, a strange shock was felt on the whole of the Scotia on our quarter a little of the port paddle. Scotia had not struck, but she had been struck and seeming, seem, seemingly by something rather sharp and penetrating than blunt. The shock had been so slight that no one had been alarmed. Had it not been for the salt of the carpenter's watch, carpenter's watch, who rushed on to the bridge, exclaiming, "We are sinking! We are sinking!" At first, the passengers were most frightened, frightened, but Captain Anderson hastened to reassure them. The danger could not be imminent. The Scotia, divided into 7 compartments by strong partition, could drift with impunity any leak. Captain Anderson went down immediately into the hold. He found that the sea was pouring into the third compartment, and the rapidity of the influx proved that the force of the water was considerable. Fortunately, this compartment did not hold the boilers, or the fires would have been immediately extinguished. Captain Anderson ordered the engines to be stopped at once, and one of the men went down to ascertain the extent of the injury. Some minutes afterward, they discovered the existence of a large hole 2 yards in diameter in the ship's bottom, such a leak could not be stopped, and the Scotia, her paddleless half submerged, was obliged to continue her course She was then 300 miles of Cape Clear, and after 3 days, today, West Coast created a nation, an uneasyness in Liverpool. She entered the basin of the company. The engineers visit the Scotia, which was put it in dry dock. They could scarcely believe in possible. At 2 years, at 2 yards and a half below water mark was a regular rain in the form of an isosceles isosceles triangle. The broken place in the iron plate who was so the broken place in the iron plate was so perfectly defined that it could not have been more neatly done by a punch. It was clear then that the instrument producing the perforation was not of a common stem, and after having been driven with prodigious strength and piercing an iron plate and piercing an iron plate 1 3 per 8 inches thick had withdrawn itself by a backward motion. Such was the last fact which result in exciting exciting once more the torrent of public opinion. The torrent of public opinion. From this movement, from this moment, unlucky casualties which could not be otherwise accounted for were put down to the monster. Thank you.